can you start sketching in business? From the literally dozens of shapes that can be used for sketching in business, let's have a look at 12 typical ones. The 12 visual templates that you can use for sketching can be used either to depict processes, such as business processes or project steps, and structures, such as organizational structures or the structure of a problem to be discussed. Let's first look at the processes. If it's a problem-solving session in which you use sketching, you might want to give system diagrams a try as an easy sketching method, where you simply visualize how one factor drives another and how that leads to certain vicious or virtuous cycles. System diagrams is a first sketching method. The simplest one is probably the horizontal process chart, where you simply map the phases of a process and then describe them in more detail vertically. Another way is the vertical process chart that is driven towards a certain goal and also divided into certain key steps. But you can also use spirals as a template if the process that you're discussing happens in reoccurring phases in an iterative manner. Also, visual metaphors may be a feasible way to sketch processes. For example, the funnel metaphor for a selection process where through certain steps or criteria an input is transformed into an output. The usual sketching mode is with diagrams such as the coordinate system, where you map the relationship between two variables. And if one is over time, then you have of course also a process. But it can also be used for structures. The structures can be hierarchic, such as for example the pyramid, where you have different layers that build on one another, or the typical tree structure, where you break down a main item into sub-items, as I do here. This can be useful to break down problems into sub-problems and then into action steps. But you can also find non-hierarchic visualizations that can be used for sketching, such as the Venn diagram, where you position elements in 1, 2, 3, or 4 groups that can be overlapping. The most frequently used sketching template, however, is probably the 2x2 matrix, where you position elements based on two criteria that then are either low or high. Finally, two more creative forms of sketching: the mind map, invented by Tony Buzan, which is great for idea development, where you position a term in the middle and the other terms around it on the axis that go away from it. Very similarly to that is the clustering method. Instead of writing on the lines, here you simply write your terms into the bubbles that are either close or further from the main part. And with this, you've come to know 12 simple ways of using sketch templates in your meetings.